Hello, everybody. I'm joined once again by channel regular Owen Quinn. How are you, Owen?
Grand, very hot today.
Yeah.
So like every other Irish man that sees the sun, straight out, took the shirt off. Women started screaming, so I had to put it back on. But apart from that,
Listen, we've all been there.
I'm still there.
So, Owen, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about a very controversial figures film, M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, this one's called Knock at the Cabin,
Yeah.
but I always call it the Knock at the Cabin in the Middle of the Woods. Knock at the front door of the cabin in the middle of the woods for some strange reason,
Right.
because I can
Okay.
never remember the title. Um, so that's what we're talking about today. It's based on a book of the same name.
Yeah.
Um,
Before we
well,
start, would you consider yourself an M. Night Shyamalan fan?
see, that's what my wee pause was about.
Yeah.
I actually, every time you see a film, you see there's a film coming out. I like The Sixth Sense. I like Signs. Signs is one of my favorite movies
I have to
ever.
say, I rewatched The Sixth Sense this Halloween, and I
Yeah,
absolutely loved it. I think it's by far his best.
so I'm gonna go with Signs because once you know the twist of Sixth Sense, that's it.
Yeah.
Where for me, Signs is a much cerebral. It's almost like Independence Day reversed.
Right.
So you don't get to see what's happening, but it's one person defending his family. I just think it's so clever, so well put together, and I always look for the twist.
Yeah.
Now that, and I know he's got a bad reputation because several of his movies haven't been the best, like Old.
Oh, well, right. The last one I seen was Old. I haven't seen Trapped
Yeah.
yet, right? But I thought Old was an absolute disaster.
Oh, it's shocking. Trap isn't too bad. I was quite looking for it. Going, did you try and as soon as you hear it's him,
Yeah.
you go, "Oh, I wonder what the twist will be. Oh, the daughter will be the serial killer."
Oh,
Or
but before we go on, there will be spoilers for pretty much everything we're talking about,
oh, that
especially.
wasn't a spoiler. Trust me, folks, that wasn't. You mean because you think of all these scenarios in your head. What could it be? It's like with Old.
Yeah.
I didn't figure it. Well, they had to tell me what it was.
Yeah.
Um,
I thought
but
Old was an absolute train wreck from writing
honestly,
to performances to dialogue. It was just.
yeah.
Do you know what? I watched it in about 5 parts because I kept quitting on it, but it was so bad. I was so curious to come back to it and see how worse it got, and oh my god,
Well, see, you're talking to the fella who, when the final Harry Potter book came out, went to the supermarket at midnight,
yeah.
bought a copy, and went to the MPs to see what happened. And
You went
then went
straight to
home
the
again.
end page.
Yeah, Harry Potter. No, you're all right. I'd rather lie on the street naked in 6 foot of snow than watch Harry Potter again. But
I have
I'd bought the book for the wife, so
I've
she liked it. But I just wanted to know
yeah.
would would she be brave enough to do that?
I
But
I have never seen a Harry Potter movie, would you believe?
I have. It's
Uh,
like scars.
Um
But see, but I mean, the movies went something similar to the books. I liked the first book.
yeah.
I thought the second book was okay. It's just a bit boring, and
Yeah.
then I lost interest in the third book. And then when we went to watch them in the cinema, it was the same. First one very good. Second one, and then the third one, no, I'll give up. So we
Yeah.
went to see the final two because it's one of them things you have to go and see
Yeah.
just to say, "Oh, I've seen it,"
Yeah.
because I'm a great believer in not putting something down unless you've watched it. So if I haven't
Yeah.
watched it, it means I've no interest in it. I don't think you should have an opinions like, "Oh, it's M. Night Shyamalan. Oh, it's going to be crap."
Yeah.
No, it's not always the case.
Exactly.
Um,
He's
I
a
enjoyed Trap.
he's a real mixed bag for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Now Trap. Now, to be fair, is an advert for his daughter.
I did hear
Don't get
that.
me
I
wrong.
did hear
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
but then
Um
again, if that was your daddy and he was going to make a film, I says it would be very good if you sang it in at a bar. I'm the first one there.
yeah, yeah, fuck it.
So you're everybody would criticize that, but at the end of the day, if you're in his boots, that's exactly what you would do. You're looking after your kid and giving her a platform.
Yeah,
And to
yeah.
be fair, she does a good job.
There you go.
Good job.
I must give it a look. Maybe I'll put it on the next Halloween list.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
knock
Funny with knocking the door or knocking the cabin. What is it called? Knocking the cabin.
knock at the cabin, Owen.
Sorry, folks. I'm very easily confused these days because
We've had
I
a
had so
long
much
day.
fun with his title.
We've had a
So
long
much
day,
fun with his
folks.
title. Yeah, knock at the cabin
Right.
at the front door. Um,
So
it's actually when I first heard this was announced, I seen the first trailer. My friend said to me, he says, "I've read the book, so it's going to be exactly the same as the book." I said, "Well, it's not going to be exactly the same as the book. He's bound to try and his own little twist on it." But I like Dave Bautista, if
yeah,
that's right. I do like him. I like
do you know what, we'll talk about him in a second. What we're gonna do
yeah,
first is do a little rundown of the plot
yeah,
to give everyone an idea of what it's all about, what happens, and
yeah.
then we'll go into more detail. So, as always, jump in whenever you feel like there's a point you want to add. So, our main characters are Andrew, Eric, and Wen. They're a family of three, a same sex couple, and their adopted kid. They're staying at a cabin in the middle of the woods, and four strangers arrive at the cabin and they tell the family that one of them has to, so they have to choose one of them to sacrifice, or else the apocalypse will happen. And they can't kill themselves, like they can't commit suicide or anything like that. One of them has to do it. So it's an interesting setup. Um, they obviously think this is bullshit because it's a very far fetched story. Um, but they initially think it's an attack on a same sex couple. They believe that's what's happening initially, and the leader of the four people who show up, Len, played by Dave Bautista,
Okay.
he
I do never spelled that or pronounced that correctly.
Bautista. I knew him from wrestling, so I know how to say it.
I just call him Drax. That's all they mean.
Drax. So he assures everybody, he assures his family that that's not what's happening. He explains that he's seen visions of what will happen if they don't make the sacrifice, and the visions are driving their actions. So it's nothing to do with prejudice or anything like that, or so they say. Um, and each time the family refuse to make a sacrifice, one of the four uh, get killed by one of the others, and that causes a disaster to happen in the world. And we see through news broadcasts that, you know, the first one is a tsunami, so they kill one of the four and a tsunami happens, and the family are still skeptical for a while. They think it's all fake and bullshit, but as the movie goes on and more disasters happen, they start to believe that this might actually be real. um so they're convinced enough. One of them is convinced pretty thoroughly because he saw a vision, and this convinces him that this is actually real. The other one is quite skeptical still. So they end up having to make a very difficult decision where they have to sacrifice one of them, one of each other, um, in order to save the world. And one of them is like, is this world really worth sacrificing one of us for? Because the world has treated them quite terribly. One of the couple, Eric, he has a vision of Andrew and the little girl in the future, all happy and doing well, and the little girl is successful and they're really proud of her. So he decides that he should be the one to die for them because he wants them to live in. So one other stipulation is that if they don't do this sacrifice, everyone else will die and they'll wander the earth alone for the rest of their lives. So he obviously doesn't want that for them. So he convinces his partner Andrew to take his life, which he eventually does. He shoots him. And then at the end of the movie, Andrew and the little girl, Wen, get into the car and they drive off. And when they get into the car, a song plays. It's a real kind of happy, upbeat song that they were listening to on the way to the cabin, where they're all having fun, having a great time, the three of them. So that was a nice touch to put that in at the end when one of them dies. And the twist of this movie, being an M. Night Shyamalan movie, is that there is no real twist. So, Owen, You take it from here. What do you think of all that? What do you make of this movie?
I like this movie, but as we were talking about earlier about one like the Sixth Sense and stuff. If once you know the twist, the ending,
Mm.
that's it.
Yeah,
Uh, you don't really need to go back and watch it.
yeah,
I think that I never read the book, so I had no preconceptions. But then I never read Jurassic Park until the movie came out,
yeah.
and I went, I must buy that book and have a wee read. Um, I think it's very well set up. It's well executed. Um, it does bounce you back and forth between, is this a setup? Is this a cult? Have they escaped from somewhere?
What
Or is it actually
what way were
real?
you leaning towards most of the way through the movie? That this was all a setup or this was all genuine?
Oh well, see, I thought it might have cheated a wee bit.
Oh,
And spoilers don't spoilers. I have no problem with. I actually rang somebody one night after Star Trek Into Darkness. Is it him? Is it Khan? I went, yeah, it is. I went, right, okay, thanks very much. Um,
no,
and the
I,
Harry
I
Potter books too.
I like to go into things blind if I can. I'll still enjoy something if I know the spoiler, but
Yeah.
I like to go in and be surprised.
Okay, but what I didn't check was how it differed from the book. So I knew going in, but it's how it's all executed, I think, is how why this film is actually better than most people think, because they're associating his name Shyamalan with, oh, it must be terrible. It's not, far from it.
Yeah.
It's actually, I mean, at the start you don't. It's almost a pedophile thing at the start, because um Dave Bautista actually, I see, I'm reading this off the screen. Um, Goes up to the wee girl in the woods while they're at the cabin, and it's almost like, oh, hold on, what's going on here? Can I be your friend? And blah blah
Yeah.
blah. To the point, you better go into the house. You have this difficult decision to make, so it's very creepy at the start.
Yeah.
And I think Babis is actually a genius cast in there,
Do you know what?
because
I
we
was
are,
actually one of my favorite things about the movie is the performances.
yeah,
And I think, would you say it's Dave Bautista's best performance?
not his
N-
best, but
not
it's up there.
not including Drax.
But yeah, I like Drax.
Drax
Um,
is awesome.
for is for to date, I think yes. Army of Darkness, or what that zombie one, wasn't great, but I think this, he actually nails it. It's a bit inspired by the casting, and it is. And you're looking at Ron Weasley as well,
Do you know what?
because you just got
I
Drax and Ron coming to your house and going, "One of you need to kill yourselves."
I
I'm going, you
I'm
think so? Expelliarmus, away you go.
I'm glad you said his
Um,
name because in my notes he's just the ginger fella from Harry Potter. But he
my
I
dear
thought
Rupert Grint
right. I
played Redmond,
I
but he surprised me too.
I
Because
thought he was fantastic in the movie. I thought his acting
yeah,
was really really solid. Like especially his death scene, I thought he performed that really really well.
yeah, because that's the point. You sort of go, hold on, these people are is it fanatical? The fact that I mean, he's terrified putting that stocking over his head, and then gets that thing slapped on his head, that big axe thing.
Yeah.
Um, and you go, shit, this shit is real, but this film still sidesteps you, because the broadcast about the tsunamis was 4 hours, 4 hours in the past.
Yeah.
So is it a pre-recording? It's something they've taped off the TV in order to fool the gay couple
Yeah.
into committing the most heinous things you do, is really the one that the child sacrificed,
Yeah.
um, as according to the book,
Yeah.
where she get killed accidentally by a stray bullet and therefore it didn't count. So
Yeah.
the film went a completely different direction. I mean, the four horsemen of the apocalypse. What do you call the other girl? Adrian, the wee nurse.
Yeah.
No, she wasn't the nurse. The nurse was Nikki Amuka Bird, who played Sabrina, the nurse. I knew her face from somewhere, and turns out she's actually been in Torchwood. and Doctor Who, and especially Torchwood was a real good role.
I couldn't
But I
place
couldn't,
her. Like her face was
yeah,
familiar, but I
it's
couldn't
one of
place her.
them faces. Yeah, but I go usually if I recognize them, they've been in Doctor Who or Torchwood.
Right.
Yeah. All right, what episode? Thanks very much. Yeah, she did a voiceover for the Glass People in Peter Capaldi's final story, Twice Upon a Time, and then was a sleeper cell alien. Oh, she was a normal woman who didn't realize she was actually an alien hybrid, and she could like do a Terminator thing, change her arm into a spear and start killing people.
Right.
So that's where I can return for obviously Harry Potter, but the other girl I didn't know anything about, but their performances, I think, sold it. And the minute that Redmond died, and it was quite the way it was done was quite horrific because he was in line of sight from the back of his head, but you didn't see, you just saw the thump.
Yeah.
You seen his body jerk. We didn't see it actually get in until he fell over. It was almost Negan like from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was that first smash to the head, and you know, holy Jesus. Um, and the other guy, what do you call him, Eric or Andrew, the gay fella, who's going, oh, it must be pre-recorded. He's still not figuring, trying to figure a hole in their thing because it has to be a cult because normal people wouldn't do this. And if you don't believe in God, it's also a bit like somebody coming to your door and say, by the way, the apocalypse is coming.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I just want a couple of red bills here for Vodafone, so may hurry up. It's not paying them.
Yeah, so
Um,
we find out that the four people represent the four horsemen of the
yeah,
apocalypse. What do you think of that aspect?
I thought it was very genius because it's for such ordinary people. I mean, I think it did at the end where like Sabrina was the healing, Leonard was
Guidance.
the teacher,
Yeah.
the guidance. Yeah, Redmond was the malice, and I can't remember what Adrian was.
It
But
was
the
like
each
caring or something
representative,
like that, or
yeah, something
nurturing.
like that. Yeah, aye, because she had the kid. That's right, she had the little boy.
Yeah.
Um, and then when you actually see the tsunami coming on screen, I think it's their reactions as a whole and they bounce off each other very, very well to convince you going, are they actually telling the truth?
Yeah.
Is there something in this? And when Eric sees the vision, he thinks he sees the vision of a figure stand behind Redmond
Yeah.
and Leonard before Leonard smashes him in the head. If you look at it again, there's actually a golden light, something like you would see in heaven,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't really be there. But that's where he starts convinced. Oh, hold on, you're seeing visions, I'm seeing visions. So it's
That's
I
what
think they melded very well together
that's
for
what
that.
that's what really tips him over into believing that this is
Yeah,
actually real.
yeah, and because of, as you said, the world treats them. It's ironic that God requires that sacrifice from a gay couple rather than a heterosexual normal couple.
Yeah, so
Um,
we find out in the movie that they were chosen because they're full of love and purity
love, yeah, because
in a world that
yeah,
seems to hate them. Um,
yeah,
and then there's
because of it, because
flashbacks.
of adopted the a child from another country, and even at that, when she's adopted, they have to pretend that there's a wife.
Yeah.
If you remember that scene,
Yeah, so we
but
see in flashbacks little bits of their
yeah,
life where
yeah.
they had to experience difficulties.
Yeah, but even though there are three dynamics, even jumping off the pier at the start into the lake, it's there and the sing song in the car.
Yeah.
Um, it's there and it's believable, and I think that's why this really works so well because you do believe it, but you are sidestepping. You going, you keep swinging between this is a fake. Anybody that's seen the book probably as a different, seen the book, read the book, a different take on it. But for me, not having read the book, I was sidestepping. It could be, it couldn't be, all the way through until we knew this is actually happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, being an M. Night Shyamalan movie, you're expecting that big twist, and it can kind of work for it in a way because it kind of it builds up a certain atmosphere where you're anticipating something, and
Mm.
some people didn't didn't like the ending so much because they felt it fizzled out, and they almost would have liked the big twist. But I I,
Yeah,
I thought it was fine.
but see, I think the twist was
That
that it was real.
that's the thing. It is kind of a twist in itself.
Yeah, but now just to say, Trap's kind of the same.
Yeah,
Don't be expecting a massive twist. There is a twist,
yeah,
but I went, actually, that's actually not bad. That's what suits that film.
yeah,
It's not like the aliens are coming or seeing dead people, but the twist is not as big as you think it's going to be.
yeah,
But I mean, in this one, it actually is real. I think that scene where the skies fall and the planes are smashing out of the sky, and it's like, do you know what that put me in mind of? The day we seen 9/11, the day
right.
it actually happened, because me and the wife, that was a girlfriend at the time, now she's my wife. She bought me a TV for my birthday because that's my birthday. And we lay watching that all afternoon, and you're just mesmerized by this thing going that, and that's the feeling I got. It looks like a movie.
Yeah,
Could it be? It can't be real. Can't be real. Could it be real? Um, but that's the same. To evoke that for me, that's when I talk about sci-fi and sci-fi with a heart. You connect with your audience on something that they have been affected by. So
yeah,
in this, we've all seen that footage. These planes are literally just slapped out of the sky as if there's a massive hand.
yeah,
It's frightening. Can you think of all these people are 1 minute enjoying their flights, and next thing they're crashing left, right, and center, and there's nothing anybody can do to
yeah,
stop it. I think that for me, that was the scariest part, because that could easily, it happens all the time, not too often, thank God, but that's the most reality thing. I mean, you've got your virus with the kids and the COVID. That's scary enough because you have the COVID-19, and everybody's waiting on the next pandemic. Um, I think the first one's the least scary, but
right.
the tsunami one, for some reason. Because well, I've only one leg, so I'd have been drowned. No, don't bother lifting me. Forget the wheelchair. I'm stuck. I'd have been under. I'd have been me man holding the camera, getting drowned under the thing. But that it's. I think it's the whole theme is you're so secure in your life, and it's normal, and you think you're going to do this, this, and this today. Anything could happen that change your life. Your life, it takes 10 seconds, 30 seconds for your life to change in an instant. And
Yeah,
I think that's the kind of scary thing here. You see these big events, but that's grand because it's a bit like signs. It's all happening elsewhere, but the big spin is who dies from this family, and will this family take a step and go, right, okay, or they're just quite happy to sit and watch each of these people kill themselves
yeah,
or be killed throughout the movie. It holds you,
yeah,
and I think that's the essence of a good story. So I think people, well, as I said earlier on, I don't, unless I've seen it, I don't comment on it because I can't say that was bad or not bad. Um,
yeah,
but I think anybody that's not that hasn't seen this, well, you just spoiled completely. But you were told to start. Um, give it a go. You'll watch it and you go, that's actually not too bad. I think for me, the thing as I'm just sitting talking to you about it is Bautista's performance.
yeah. I thought he was. I thought he did a really good job in this.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the cast photos here. Even Redmond, Rupert Grint, and Nikki with Sabrina. It's that terror and that fear when she talks about her half sister. Listen, we are normal, and how they saw the visions. The vision brought them together. They've been chosen by God.
Yeah,
Um, it's that your life changes on the spin of a dime,
yeah,
and they are so convincing. Especially Adrian when she says, "Listen, I have a 2-year-old at home. I don't really want to die, but I've no choice but to be here."
yeah,
Um, that really sets it up. But of course, it's Eric, it's Andrew is resisting the idea that this could possibly be real. Because why wouldn't you? Even though they've been told they're going to walk the earth alone, um, for the rest of the time, because everybody's going to die. they're happy. Their world is each other and when. So that is their world, and they're enjoying the night. You've seen they're happy. You've seen they're joyous. You've seen the love, and yet somebody's asking you, God, to kill one of your members of your family, and you lose
Yeah.
that connection. So it is a big ask. To me, it's a bit like assisted suicide. If somebody asks you to do it, would you do it? That's a
Oh,
question I can't answer.
that's a really
Um,
tough one, isn't it?
yeah, I can't answer that, Eric Eric can't answer it eventually, but Andrew just can't, and I completely understand, especially given that Redmond may have been responsible for the homophobic attack in the bar years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But I like that scene too because he was dressed in the same clothes, but you couldn't quite tell
Yeah, I think
if it was.
I would say it's pretty clear that it was him. And I think it's a good choice to have him at the cabin because he's reminding Andrew of some of the terrible people out there just to
Yeah.
make the choice even more difficult. He's like, well, this fucker attacked me at a bar. Um, so I
So
thought,
why are you asking me to give up my family and my happiness for
yeah,
people like that?
yeah,
Excuse me.
exactly.
For people all around the world, homophobic. Excuse me. Um, and people that don't look at us the same, that don't see us as normal when we are the most normal people as much as you are. I think this is almost like a stage play, because you've got one setting really, and you can easily picture this being done on the stage because the entire thing's literally set inside the cabin.
Yeah,
And the best stage plays work because the characters work and the words draw you in, their performances draw you in.
yeah.
And that's what did this for me. Now I'm not gonna. I did watch it again for our podcast, but I'll not be watching again anytime soon. I've done it. All
Yeah,
right, do you know what I mean?
yeah, there's not
Um,
much rewatch value.
no, it's not Empire Strikes Back. You do it like 746 times.
Yeah.
Um, but it's still it's one. It's like I've told you about a few series and stuff. It is worth watching
I think it's
for
worth a
that,
go.
and you get to see.
It's certainly one of M. Night's better efforts, and part of that could be because it's based on a book, or because I believe he had a co-writer for this as well. Um, but his track record over the last few years has not been great, and
No,
I think this movie has a few of his normal issues. So I don't know how much of the dialogue is from the book, from the
yeah,
co-writer, or
same,
from M. Night himself, but
yeah,
it does have some of that kind of sort of unnatural M. Night dialogue that he tends to put in his movies, where it's like he can't quite work out how people talk. Do you know what I mean? There's not as much of that in here. I think the characters are much better written, but he does tend to have this kind of like way of making people talk where it's just not quite natural. It's a little clunky at times. So I think he really benefits from having a co-writer and having it based on the book and all that kind of stuff. What do you reckon?
yeah. Another set of eyes, but I mean, for me, this. What can I say? How can I say this?
Of course you
Um,
can. Go for it.
it's it's an unnatural situation.
Yeah.
So what if we look back to the family dynamic, that's normal, that's natural. This unnatural thing, there's four people who have been pulled out of a natural environments to do this unnatural thing, which is sacrifice another human being to save the world. Um, I think, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I think he gets away with it because of that. If this had been Signs, I know there's a couple of scenes in Signs where that didn't fade. The dialogue was a bit weird, but um,
not that it's not necessarily a flaw in itself. I mean, it depends what you're going
no,
for. You can have dialogue that is purposely unnatural or
yeah,
a little
yeah,
odd or weird or whatever. Like, it doesn't always have to be completely realistic. It depends what you're going for. But when you're writing characters that are supposed to be real people talking to other real people, um, he kind of can fail on that a little bit at times. Uh, except some of his best. Some of his best work is obviously void of any of that, or at least a lot of that. But some of his kind of more recent stuff, like Jesus, the dialogue is awful.
The Village. I didn't like The Village. I didn't like
Joe,
Old.
I haven't seen The Village in such a long time. I'll have to rewatch it. But the dialogue in Old was atrocious. Oh my
Yeah,
god, it was.
and I feel like
See,
there's that.
that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where it's like they just don't come across as real people. It's like an alien's writing it, and he can't quite figure out what people are, but he's giving it a
You know
shot
what?
anyway.
I don't know about you, but I really sometimes struggle with dialogue to keep it fresh.
Yeah,
Um, because like, how many times can you say he said or she said, and you're trying to think, well, what, a lot of what of the stuff we would write, we're thinking of ourselves how we speak, but then I'd be looking at my cousins and people I know to try and bring new stuff in. It's
yeah,
actually really hard
it is hard,
to
and
do.
you don't want all your characters to sound like you,
Sound the same.
like they're all
Uh,
coming from the same person. It is
yeah, I
hard.
think he did that.
I find it tricky at times because a lot of my stuff tends to be very dialogue heavy, so you really need to be on top of it. And as you
Yeah,
say, like make sure you have a bit of variety and make sure all the voices are clear. Like you should be able to tell
yeah.
from just reading some lines. Like you should be able to tell a lot about the character and which of the characters is saying that even without a name tag. Evolved. So yeah,
Do you remember? I remember we were talking. One of the previous, I think it might have been my interview. We were talking about background characters,
yeah,
giving them life, even though they might be in for one scene, like Austin Powers do, the security guard getting shot, and then he goes to the ring his wife or the ring his best mate and stuff like that. I think and
yeah,
this one, what stands out for me that way is Redmond. Redmond, when they were all describing each other, was not that pleasant about himself and really told the bad stuff. And I got his entire history
yeah,
just from that one wee scene of dialogue. He's somebody that was beaten by his dad,
yeah,
and just that has affected him all his life. So the fact that he's now been chosen by God to take part in this is as much a surprise to him as it
yeah,
is to anybody else. So it's sort of like even it doesn't. It's like what did I the Raptor? It's like you don't have to be super good or pious or religious or anything like that to be chosen by God. It could be anyone, even the worst of us, or the lost. You're talking about lost souls. You're looking at that sort of theme. Redmond's a lost soul
yeah.
looking for redemption. I just can't get himself above that line to go, this is my past. I need to deal with it and become a better person.
Yeah, because
This
he
is
had
him becoming that better person because he's the first sacrifice.
yeah, because he admits in the movie that he's done some really bad things and that he hasn't been a
Yeah.
good person. So he's aware of himself.
Yeah. And we're talking about dialogue. I don't know how much of that dialogue is actually from the book.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know
Um,
because there's just some lines here and there that feel like an M.Night line.
yeah,
The type of ones I'm not too keen on. But for the most part, it was fine. It was okay.
yeah. I mean, even when Andrew tries to escape and Sabrina stops him, and there's that whole standoff with the gun, and she's poking him with a stick, and then runs and Terry, you're sort of like, that's actually well done. Do you know what I mean? The reactions are well done.
Right.
Because Sabrina was like so she didn't want to die, and her destiny was to be sacrificed. I actually thought, you know, that actually when I watched it for the very first time, I sort of thought, why is Dave cutting his wee throat? This is what? No, you're about to get what you want. Be there, but
So
I don't know. Like
what's your read on that? Why do you think he did that?
I don't. I think there were is all of their ultimate purposes were to be the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So when you do something like that, and that would have such an impact on you mentally and spiritually, how do you go back to teaching kids? So this was like a one-way ticket for them all. They all knew they weren't coming out of it,
Right.
whether the sacrifice was made or not. their final purpose in life was this. They were either going to succeed or they were going to fail.
Yeah.
Um, but it was actually only because of Eric that they succeeded. But if you think about that, you sort of look at somebody was talking about Star Trek Next Generation the other day about a Picard episode, Inner Light, where he lived an entire life in 20 minutes of somebody else, and
Right.
then he was back in his own time and realized it was all a sort of an illusion. It's a download of an alien race to help them remember who they were and what they were. There was no effect from that, Barry. He could now play the flute. And somebody pointed that out very, very well. It's something I never even thought of. I actually thought of it at the time, but I haven't thought about it in years. Um, there should have been a lot more impact on Picard as a character because he was another person and he had a wife and he had kids, he had grandkids, which is a vast difference to what Picard is.
Yeah.
He is nobody. So I think that psychological end of it, I think Dave and the rest of them knew going in. Dave, I think I knew him by the first name.
Your good friend
Going in,
Dave.
yeah, my good buddy Drax, yes, I'm in the next Marvel movie, just saying. Um, it's, it is a huge thing because and I think that balances it out because you've got the family going through this trauma, but these four horsemen in the apocalypse are also traumatized because, as you know, one was a nurse, one was looking after a 2-year-old. Redmond was just getting in trouble all the time, and Leonard was a teacher until they had the visions and they saw the tsunami happening. I mean, Adrian, that's what's just come to mind is Adrian says that she's watched her son, young son, burn in her arms over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's it also brings the whole thing of what sort of God is that
Yeah. Yeah.
that would demand that and torture somebody with that image? Jesus, if I had my son, I would die. I would literally die. And everybody's the same. So she's seeing her son burn in the apocalypse, and she's looking at this little girl who could potentially be shot or murdered by her own parents. So you've
Yeah.
got that. It's just so many. When you really look at it, there's a lot of layers here. Um, I think the biggest question for a movie is for this type of movie anyway is could you do it? If you were in that situation, what would you do? And I
That's the
know this.
thing.
I
Yeah.
know it's fantastical
It's
situation.
it's an interesting premise, and
Yeah,
I was really intrigued when it started to see where it would go, so it kept me gripped.
yeah. And
And
like you're not really sorry for Dave. Dave, here we go again. Leonard at the end
yeah.
when he sort of sacrificed himself. You felt sorry for Sabrina. You felt sorry for Adrian, if I'm pronouncing that right, and Redmond. I mean, I have to say, as I said, I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but I've got to remember, these guys are actors. Their job is to pretend to be something that they're not. So just because somebody's associated with Ron Weasley doesn't mean he can't do something else.
Yeah.
And I thought I would actually like to have seen more of Redmond
Yeah, same.
in the movie.
Because
And have
he's not in it for as long as
no with the
um
rest of them.
yeah.
It's sort of short time. Whereas I think if it would be me, I would have put Adrienne first,
Yeah.
get rid of her first, even though and that story about the son, our wee son being burned in the apocalypse, that would be the catalyst for me for Eric to finally look and go, hold on, this is actually real.
Yeah.
It's actually real. So I mean, it's sort of one of them. I can understand why George Lucas keeps coming back and changing Star Wars because I do it all the time because you're never really happy with. I mean, I did a new story yesterday and I thought, oh, that's grand, that's it, done. And then I was lying 20 minutes there and I went, I think I'll just go back and add a wee line.
Yeah. That's why they
So,
say
you know,
like stories are never finished or abandoned
no,
because you just have to leave it.
yeah, you have to walk away. And I think in this one, um, I can't really float. I'm just looking at this Rotten Tomatoes give it 67%, and it was 6.1 out of 10. I'll be honest with you, I think it should be a bit higher.
Um,
I think
I,
it it
I
the
can
association with the
understand.
name.
I can understand why you would want to put it higher. I think that's about right. I think it's a decent movie. I don't think it's anything stellar. I don't think
No,
it does anything
no,
particularly outstanding, but I would
no.
recommend giving it a look.
Yeah, 100%. But you look at it once,
Yeah,
unless you're doing a review for a podcast, you'll do it twice. Um,
exactly.
but it is one of them. It's like the gorge, as I was saying to you. Once you know, it's like Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes Back. Well, no, it's not a good. That's not a good example. Empire Strikes. But
Is
when you
there
watch
is
the
there a
gorge, you
twist
watch
in
the
that
Sixth
one in
Sense.
Empire Strikes Back? Is there?
I think it's something to do with paternity issues. I don't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
know.
I just can't recall the
Um,
twist in that one, but I'll have to
no,
rewatch it.
where's Jeremy? Where's Jeremy Kay when you need him? Um,
Now
oh,
that would be a
Maury
nice
Povich,
addition.
you are not the father. Um, but it's yeah. I'd like to really. Do you know what? I might just actually buy the book just for comparison.
I'd be curious to
But
read the book. I heard a lot of the plot points in the book, and I hear it's a lot of it's similar, but the ending's very different. And
well, yeah,
uh,
because that yeah.
spoilers for the book, just in case we let Atten slip. But
After,
fuck it. The girl in
don't
the
worry about
book,
them things.
she dies. I think we said that already, to be honest.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, listen. Somebody said there used to be a guy on Facebook. I think it was Walking Dead. I think, and he used to put this post up every week. I go, anybody that spoils Walking Dead or for me tonight or posts anything on the internet, I will ban. And I went, you're nobody in a corner, so shut your mouth. If you can't watch it with the rest of us, keep up with the world because this is when it's on. I know when it's on. I've known for weeks when it's on, so I clear my schedule. I just thought, seriously, cut the grip, sitting threatening people because not to spoil it. I was going to tell them everything out of badness. But
That would
yeah,
be awful.
yeah, they all die. There you go. Um,
Or make up a spoiler so he's
or
anticipating
make
something happens that
No,
doesn't
I know
happen.
the best revenge get a proper spoiler in. And he is Khan. There you go. Um,
He is his father.
I can see dead people. Um,
Yeah,
but
so
the book difference. I was reading. I was actually because I said as I was talking to my friend, he had read the book, so I looked it up today just to refresh myself. Wen is killed in the book because there's a struggle with the gun and it
yeah,
goes off, and a stray bullet kills her. But because it's an accident,
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
count.
count.
Yeah.
So that means Eric and Andrew still have to make that sacrifice. In the book, they drive off, but the ending is ambiguous. What is that word? Ambiguous.
Ambiguous.
Where's ambiguous?
You're a
See, that's
writer,
me trying to
Owen.
make up. Do you know what it is? I was trying to make up alien names the other day. I was trying to think of the weirdest things. But anyway, that's they nothing. It's ambiguous.
You need to learn
Whereas the
ambiguous and
movie
Dave Batista.
De Batista, Bazipa, whatever you call him. But it's more ambiguous in the book because you
Yeah.
don't really know. Whereas
Which
in the
which
movie,
which do you
it's
prefer?
one
Would you prefer if this had an ambiguous ending where you don't know if it was all genuine, or
no,
do you like that there's a
no.
definite
I like an
answer?
ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, no, it wrecks me. And
What's that?
it's haunted. See a movie without a proper explanation
Yeah.
wrecks me. I think if you as an audience invest your time in this. It's like Inception. It's that bloody spinning top. I was literally ringing Michael Caine and going, "Is this real or what is the end of this?" And then he came out and said that Christopher Nolan said any scene that Michael Caine was in is real. So therefore he did survive, and that is his kids at the end. But
Right.
then I says, "But how did he escape from the drowning in the car?" But that's another story.
Right.
Um, there's another one that does my head. I can't remember what it was. What is it? Well, I just don't like ambiguous endings or
Yeah.
stupid endings
Yeah.
where that's it. I think is naughty. It's like Smallville, the TV series. 10 years that ran for. 10 years, the audience was waiting to see Clark as Superman.
Yeah.
Did they get it? No. I just thought, 10 years, 10 years, I would not even get to see Superman. And then when we heard he's come back in Crisis and Infinite Earths, Happy Days going to get to see Superman. No, he gave his powers up, so it's just Clark Kent.
Right.
I just thought, I think that's an insult, and they would justify it with something. It's the story of Clark Kent. Well, the story of Clark Kent culminates in him becoming done in that suit. That's what your audience has been waiting on.
Yeah.
So to rob him of that, I think it's just cheap and Lost. Don't even start me about Lost.
I gave up on Lost one of the seasons. I think was it 4? 3 or 4? I just gave up on it. I felt like they were just making it up as they went along.
They were in the last 3 seasons, 100%.
Yeah.
And actually, I know I was one of the ones that I stayed loyal to Lost all the way through, and got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch it on TV to see what it was all about. Now, and I'd said that 7 years ago. That's where they all were. Like
Yeah.
spoiling it for anybody.
I
But I went,
I looked up the ending a little while ago because I was
yeah.
curious, like how the fuck did all that end? And I was
I
like,
knew, I
yeah,
knew what the rumors were at the start because we were all hooked and work hooked, and we were getting them from the States. Um, and I just thought, again, don't appreciate your viewers. And then the writer came back and went, I don't really care what people think. And I went, well, you should. Your
yeah,
job is you're delivering a story, finish it.
yeah,
If there's a sequel coming, leave your ambiguous ending, happy days. But finish it and reward the audience investment because that's what's all. Because
yeah,
I Lost, I'll never watch. Say if the same writer come out tomorrow, I've got a new series and this is what it is. No, I'm not watching it. I've wasted enough
yeah.
time on the other ones, but that's my rerun. It's just me. I prefer a beginning, a middle, and end, or the beginning, a middle, and a possibility of a
Yeah.
sequel, something like that.
Yeah. So
But not
that's
ambiguous
we'll wrap up knock at the end of the cabin at the woods or whatever.
on the front door.
So in the end, Eric sacrificed himself because he loved his family and he wanted them to live full, happy lives, and that is great. Um,
And he
so
wants the world to live as well. He
exactly,
wants all kids and all families to be safe.
yeah. As he said before, like if everyone died and it was just them, what kind of world is that for Wen to live in? So,
Exactly. Oh,
uh,
I'd be all right. I'm quite happy in my own company.
yeah, I'm not sure if I wouldn't say, oh fuck it, it sounds peaceful.
It's all right.
we wouldn't
I'll
have to
watch it.
we wouldn't have
I'll
to
watch
deal with
Lost.
we wouldn't have to deal with the technical issues we had to deal with
No,
earlier.
no bills, no work, no nothing. I'll just sit here with my DVD collection.
Just go and pick berries and
Yeah, with a
so you would give this a recommend?
100%. Yeah,
Yeah, I would
yeah,
recommend it. I mean,
yeah.
as I said, I don't think it does anything too outstanding. I think it's a fine effort. It's certainly a step above old, which I would
Oh,
recommend, but for different reasons.
I do avoid.
I felt old by the end of it.
Snog, marry or avoid or throw off a cliff. Old up cliff.
Joe, that should be our new rating system.
Yeah,
But this one,
crazy.
yeah, this one, give a go. So let us know in the comments what you want us to cover next. We have quite a few
Yeah,
recommendations built up, so we will try and get around to a lot of them. We're going to try and upload more often,
yeah,
maybe once or if we can, twice a week.
yeah.
Owen, do you have a preference of what you'd like to cover next? Oh,
I'm actually looking forward to what we're covering next, but do you know what? I don't know where it's timely at. It's the new Salem's Lot.
Salem's
As
Lot.
I
Yeah.
did say that to you, like, but I don't know where it would be. Would have we lost the crest of a wave on that because something like that really should have been done at the time, if you know what I mean? Because I'm a huge fan of the original. Do you see the original?
I started watching it one year and then I got distracted with other stuff and I haven't gone back to it, but I really want to finish it.
Well, what the book or the TV series?
TV series.
Well, unless that distraction was Dave Batista coming to your door and saying, "I'm going to have to sacrifice you."
It wasn't
No,
quite
you need to
that,
get
but
back.
it was
You need
close.
to go back to Salem's Lot. It's at time. I'm slightly older than you guys, and it still terrifies me to this day.
No,
But
I'm looking
I
forward to
showed it.
finishing it. I
Yeah,
remember when I was younger, I seen that clip of the vampire scraping the window,
yeah.
and that was
Oh yeah,
horrifying. Yeah,
yeah. To this day,
yeah.
I wish you could actually see the video of this because I'm sitting in bedroom up in the attic and my blinds is closed. And do you see it at night? Do you see it at night time? We've converted our attic, so you hear footsteps from across the roof, the seagulls
Right.
and the birds, and
Yeah.
you're like, "What was that?" And that's my reaction just from Salem's Lot. Awesome, absolutely brilliant. It has the Rob Lowe remake was no, it was crap.
Rubbish. Yeah.
Rubbish. The Return to Salem's Lot sequel, awful. I think the budget was a tenner. We're all feeding cows.
Jesus.
Um, and this new one could have been so much more.
Well, do you
I
know
think that
what we are doing soon is we're going to do a couple of the Final Destination movies.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
in preparation for the new one coming out, which is I think it's just
Uh,
called The Final Destination.
isn't that called Bloodlines?
Oh, it is. Yeah, Final Destination
Is that?
Bloodlines. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good call. Good catch.
I think
Uh,
in my best.
I think I've seen all of them. I've definitely seen 1, 2, and 3. I just can't.
I've seen them all, but I couldn't find number 4 on Netflix.
They only have, I believe, 1, 2, and 3 on Netflix. So we will cover the first. Maybe we'll do the first one next week. What do you reckon?
All right, I'm game.
Um,
Loving my Final Destination. And they're one of they're those films where I'll put on, and if I'm bored or I need something in the background while I'm writing.
yeah.
Um, and I always start. The only thing is when I start writing and I put that on, I end up watching the film instead. But Final Nation, I remember, and this is really bad. Once again, you're making me feel old. I remember it coming out the first time, and it was just like, holy moly,
Yeah.
what is going on here? But it was so good, which is why I don't do roller coasters or and all them
I've
things.
uh,
No,
I've never done roller coasters anyway, so that's fine.
I've I've done it, but I was tricked onto it once in Blackpool on a grand, and it's called the Grand National in Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
How did someone trick
I,
you onto a roller coaster?
because I was with somebody and I was sort of like being romantic and going, "Yes, dear." Help
Yeah, you
me."
wanted to impress them.
Yeah, so no, squeal like a girl. They, she spent the whole ride laughing, and all the people behind us in front of us laughed because they thought there was a girl behind them. I wheeled the house down. I went, "Oh my Jesus Christ! No, get me off this!
Oh,
No."
if we
And
had a
do that
video
bit.
of that.
Do you ever see the bit where everybody puts their hands up in the air?
Yeah.
Right. So I said, "I'll try that." And the minute I let go, it was like you were trying to be sucked out of the seat. And I went, "Oh no, no, hold on to that." So
No, thank you. I'm
I
not.
was like, no, I was like the Pope getting off the plane that time. I kissed the ground. No,
I
never
am.
again.
I'm not very good with heights.
No, nor am I. But if I'm on a plane, I want the window seat. I've no issues with that at all. And my wife has no fear of roller coasters now as my son.
Yeah.
And no, I can't.
Well, do you know
I
what I
can't.
do have a fear of because of Final Destination series is bouncy logs.
Why?
Logs that bounce all over the place.
No, I don't like them at all. Or sunbeds. Why get off? Don't be on sunbeds anyway, folk. They're
Exactly.
not good for you. Especially if you're in a Final Destination movie. Definitely not good for you. Don't do it.
So, Owen, tell the lovely folks where they can find you and your work.
You can find my website on Time Warriors and Beyond, where you'll be able to read selections from the books, all the books.
Fantastic.
We've just released, as I said, The Wolves of Chernobyl and
Brilliant.
other stories. You can find me on Instagram, Time Warriors Author, same for Facebook. But I can't remember on Twitter. I can't remember where Facebook's under Owen Quinn, the Time Warriors author. I can't
Do you know what?
remember.
We'll figure out Owen's social media. We'll
Yeah,
put it in the description.
just look for me. But if you go to the website, you'll find me. There you go. There's
And you
all
can
sorts of lovely pictures.
I can confirm. So if you want to follow me, it's at Stephen Carey Stories on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll put links in the description if you want to check those out. Thanks again for channel regular Owen for dropping on.
Grand, and thank you, everybody, for your feedback. It's been really helpful and it's really enjoyable.
It's been
So glad we like
fantastic.
what we're doing. Yeah.
Really appreciate it, and all the suggestions are greatly appreciated too. Right, we should be back next week with something or other, maybe Final Destination. Likely that, but
Mm.
we'll see. We'll see how we go. Okay,
Yeah.
everyone, bye bye and good night.
Bye, everyone.